The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air.
What is your trouble?
O King, help me. I am a widow. My husband, he's dead. You see, my two sons, they had a fight in the field, and no one was there to stop them. One of them was killed. Now the rest of the family is saying, let us have your son. They're going to execute him for murdering his brother. They're saying he doesn't deserve to inherit his family's property. And my husband's name and our family will disappear from the earth.
You may return to your house, and I will give orders concerning you and your situation.
Oh, thank you, my lord, thank you. Let the blame fall on me and on my father's house. And let the king and his throne be innocent.
If anyone says anything to you, bring them to me, and he will never touch you again.
Swear to me by the Lord your God that you won't let anyone take vengeance against my son.
As surely as the Lord lives, not one hair of your son shall fall to the ground.
Well then, please allow me to ask one more thing of the king, my lord.
You may speak.
Why don't you do as much for the people of God as you have promised to do for me? You have convicted yourself in making this decision because even you have refused to bring home your own banished son. All of us must die eventually. Our lives are like water spilled out on the ground, which cannot be gathered up, but God does not sweep away life. Instead, He always devises a plan to bring us back when we are separated from Him. I came to plead with my lord the king because people have threatened me. I said to myself, perhaps the king will listen to me and rescue us from those who would cut us from the inheritance God has given us. Yes, the king will give us peace of mind again. I know that you are like an angel of God, discerning good from evil. So may the Lord your God be with you.
Do not hide from me what I am about to ask you. Did Joab, son of Zeruiah, put you up to this?
My lord, I can't lie or deny. Nobody can hide anything from you. Yes, Joab sent me and he told me what to say. He just wanted to place the matter before you in a different light. But you are as wise as an angel of God, and you understand everything that happens among us.
Boy. Okay. I will grant this thing. Go. Bring back my son Absalom.
Absalom fled Israel after he killed his brother Ammon. Naturally, you would think this would be the last that we hear about him. However, we see that Absalom's plot is far more extensive than anyone could have ever imagined. This week, we will discuss 2 Samuel chapters 14 and 15 and explore Absalom's treason. As always, be blessed and enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Air podcast.
My name is Nakhaz.
Here with your host, Nakhaz Gay, Earl Roberts. We're A Breath of Fresh Air, if you didn't get it before. Clearly, we're still working out this name thing. We'll get it one day. So hopefully everyone had a great week out there. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you appreciate this content, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend. leave a comment down below. We definitely appreciate the feedback. We definitely try to answer every comment. And yeah. So this week, right, for a weekly, well, ironically, I actually wanted to play a game at first, right? But we'll do that later.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk about there's a couple of things this week, right? Just like the name of God and the importance of the name of God. And I'm wearing, ironically, I wore this sweater today with the letters YHWH, Yahweh, typically known as the name of God. And remember when we did the book of Exodus, right? There was a tree in the desert that was on fire.
Yep.
That was on fire. Moses called out to it, and Moses essentially said, "What's your name?"
Mm-hmm.
And the tree responded in how we typically read. He said, "I am."
Yep.
I am. But if you actually go way back in the Hebrew text, he never actually said, "I am." The essence of it, what he actually said was, he said, "I'm Yahweh." Essentially saying, "I am the one who sustains. I am that will become."
Mm. That's interesting, because even if you look in the King James, like, it's written in a weird font.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when they say "I am," it's not in the same font.
Exactly, it's
like,
big and it's capitalized.
Yeah.
And the reason why is essentially he was saying Yahweh, and it's so funny because the very essence of God's name is life, right? And it's so weird, because I was even like thinking about this today, and you see sometimes in David's Psalms, in Psalms 34, he said, like, let everything that has breath praise the Lord. I think that's actually Psalms 105. In Psalms 134, he said, like, my mouth will continually sing praises unto you. My mouth. And it's so interesting because from the very moment the very instance you're born, the first thing you do is breathe.
Mm.
And you breathe the breath of God. You actually say the words Yahweh. Like Yahweh, it's actually like the consonants. When you actually say it actually forms like the onomatopoeia of breathing.
Mm.
The first thing God did when he created Adam and Eve was actually breathe his breath into them.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? When he actually changed Abram's and Sarai's name, he changed it to Abraham and Sarah. And he actually put his own breath into their names and said, now you're actually taking on my covenant with you, and I'm changing your names to be more in tune with me. Mm. You know what I'm saying? So the name of God is so powerful. I could go on into the history of how we went from Yahweh to Adonai, and the word was too holy. Adonai just means Lord for people in who don't know that. So like the word Adonai, typically we just use it as God's name, but the ancient Hebrews, the name of God was so holy to them, so holy, they didn't want to say it, right? So they started saying Yahweh. They just started to say Adonai, which means Lord. So it's just a title. Mm. You know what I'm saying? But it's like if you and Naja are talking, say y'all say mom, right?
That's my sister, by the way.
Yeah, Naja's your sister, yeah. Right? If y'all saying mom, right? Y'all know who y'all talking to. Mm-hmm. So now think about going centuries back. If we all saying Adonai and we know we're referring to the Lord, it doesn't need any more context. Mm-hmm. But now, centuries later, that context gets lost because now the word Adonai almost got replaced for God. And the next thing they did to kind of stop people from using the word Yahweh, they interfused Yahweh and Adonai. Mm. Anyway, we can go. I don't want to go into the whole history lesson right now, right? Because it's a deep thing, right? But the name of God is so important because by his name we are saved. You know what I'm saying? Like God wants you to know him. And one of the first things you actually do when you get into a relationship with someone, if you're making a new friend, if you're on the plane, you had an interesting conversation with someone, you say, hey, by the way, what's your name? Yep. Because it's kind of like the seal of a friendship, the seal of a relationship. And so it's just super important that we know the true name of God. Because think about it. The time when he actually said his name, what was the context of that? Moses wanted to know, by whose authority am I going back to let the children of Israel know who wants to save them? And God said, this is who you're going to tell them is coming to save them, by my name. And that's when he actually went on to say, I am Yahweh, the one who is to become, the one who doesn't need any help to be sustaining. His very name is life. So super important. I know we got a time limit, so but that's just food for thought. Like the name of God Yahweh is super powerful, super important, and yeah, I mean, shoot, I can go on to the whole history of the whole name, how it changed, all that kind of stuff. But it's super fascinating, actually.
No, but it is amazing though. It is amazing because even from back then, it was important to be able to identify the God that you worship in, right? Because the people around you worship many gods.
Yeah, and it's so funny, right? Because like now, in today's day, right? We say Elohim. We say Elohim to mean God.
Right?
Elohim doesn't mean the one true God. A lot of people don't know that.
It just means God.
It just means God.
Yeah.
And technically, it just means the spiritual beings above. And that's why if you read in the Hebrew, they say Elohim of Elohims, the Lord of Lords, right? And so like, when you go back to ancient Hebrew, they would say like, there is no Elohim like Yahweh. You know what I'm saying? There's no God like our God. You know what I'm saying? But we just say, we use these names so interchangeably now that we lose the importance of the name of God and who God actually is. Because, like, shoot, you say Lord, right? Man, if I want to, right? Side tangent. If I want to, or if you want to, we both could become lords.
Right.
All it takes is buying a 12 by 12 plot in Scotland. And you become a lord. I've thought about it. Oh, very conceited. I thought about it to become Lord Earl Roberts II. You know what I'm saying? That it has a nice ring to it. But my thing is like not to lose the importance of it, but certain things we say as God and Lord are just titles. And it's not to confuse it with the actual holy name of God. You know what I'm saying? So that's just I guess fun fact that we need to like.
And no, and I'm not that versed on this. I'm not that versed, but I've seen some people that are very like stern in not using the word Lord or God. You understand what I'm saying? Because, you know, people who spoke English weren't, because if you think about history, you know, the Hebrews served the Most High God. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, the Christians, they spread the truth to the Gentiles and stuff like that. But people who spoke English or Latin countries, they weren't native to Judaism or Hebrewism.
Man,
you know?
it's so funny too, right? Even to that point, when you actually know the name of God, you actually get a little bit more into Hebrew, you actually see how all the prophets that we're about to cover whenever we get to them, how almost all of their names have God in it. And I'm talking about Yahweh interspecies, like Jeremiah, Elijah, Hezekiah, Zachariah, all of that Oz in there was actually the Yah from God. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they all knew the true name of God in Hebrew, and all of these prophets and all of their names were pointing back to the one true God.
Yep.
And it's so crazy because in English, all that gets lost.
Right. Yeah, a lot gets lost in English to the point where we have people who they don't want to say the word God because the way the history that they research and the way they receive this information is that God was specific to paganism, you know, like that word, as well as Lord. And some people don't even want to transliterate Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's a sticky one, yeah.
Yeah. This different story for a different time. But at the end of the day, there's no name like the name of Yahweh, you know?
Amen. So this week we are in 2 Samuel chapter 14. We want to get to 15.
Right.
We'll see if we make it. But 2 Samuel chapter 14. So last week we left off with the second half of 2 Samuel 13.
Yep.
With the story of Ammon. I mean,
pretty heavy story.
and Absalom, yeah, a lot happened. We know, like, you know, one son raped the sister, the next son got revenged and killed the brother, and essentially, you know, kind of went on the run. Definitely check out the last two episodes. I don't want to get into that much, but that's essentially that we're setting the scene of what's happening now. So now we see how David has to deal with all of these news.
Yep.
And even going back 3 episodes ago, we know how David got himself in a pickle.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? He slept with some man's wife that he wasn't supposed to sleep with, got her pregnant, tried to cover up his sins, killed Uriah. Then he lost a son. He repented. But we see David has a lot of turmoil going on in his house right now. And it's just, I think in that episode, we also mentioned that, it's kind of start showing how God might forgive your sin, but there's going to be some serious ramifications for your actions.
Oh man, that's an inside joke, yo. Maybe
whoever thought that line would age so well?
Maybe one day we'll get to tell a story. I'm sorry to tease you all like this, but oh man, that's a good joke. But so yes, God prophesied that the sword will not depart from the house of David. That's number one. Number two, David neglected to discipline his son Amnon that raped his daughter Tamar.
Mercy.
And because of that, Absalom had wanted to take matters into his own hands, which he did on the last episode. We went into that. And now we have the results of tension between David and now Absalom.
Tension. Precious tall, as they say in the islands.
Yep.
So reading from verse 1. Now Joab, the son of Zeruiah, I don't know why I fumbled that, knew that the king's heart went out to Absalom. And Joab again was David's nephew?
Yeah,
nephew.
Yeah.
And Joab sent to Tekoa and brought from there a wise woman and said to her, pretend to be a mourner and put on mourning garments.
Hold on, I just want to say something, bro. It seems like all of the people in David's camp know that the best way to speak to David is through like allegory, or you know what I'm saying? Like, because David is a wordsmith, right? Because he writes, sings, all of that. And like, I feel like we've seen on the past couple of like chapters where Nathan has a story to come to tell David, but God tells him, yo, speaking of parables, And now Joab is doing the same thing to David. So you can see this is an effective method.
Effective way to talk to the king.
Right.
Pretend to be a mourner and put on mourning garments. Do not anoint yourself with oil, but behave like a woman who has been mourning for many days for the dead. Go to the king and speak thus to him. So Joab put the words in her mouth. Do you think this was kind of like deceptive or just trying to be looking out for... No, don't call that question. Yeah. We can get back to it.
Yeah.
When the woman of Tekoa came to the king, she fell on her face. I'm reading from the ESV. My apologies.
I was trying to follow.
Yeah. I can switch to King James. I usually do read from the New King James. Okay, yeah, my bad. I was like, so I tried first. Like, I see him looking. I was like, what am I doing wrong?
Let me try and see if I can follow.
All right. So,
verse 3:8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's different. So go to the king and speak to him in this manner. So Joab put words in her mouth.
This is a laughing episode for some reason, bro.
I don't know
why, bro. But all right, let's go.
We thought this episode would have been dead.
I tell you.
All right. And when the woman of Tekoa spoke to the king, she fell on her face to the ground and prostrated herself and said, "Help me, O king." Then the king said to her, "What troubles you?" And she answered, "Indeed, I am a widow. My husband is dead. Now your maidservant had 2 sons. And the 2 fought with each other in the field. And there was no one to part them, but one struck the other and killed him. Now the whole family has risen up against your maidservant." And they said, "Deliver him who struck his brother, that we may execute him for the life of his brother whom he killed. And we will destroy their hair also. So they would extinguish my ember that is left, and leave to my husband neither name nor remnant on the earth." Then the king said to the woman, "Go to your house, and I will give orders concerning you." And the woman of Tekoa said to the king, "My lord, O king, let the iniquity be on me and my father's house. The king on his throne be guiltless." The king said, "Whoever says anything to you, bring him to me, and he shall not touch you any more." Then she said, "Please let the king remember the Lord your God, and do not permit the avenger of blood to destroy any more, lest they destroy my son." Now, personally, I'd have been like, "Miss, what you want from me at this point?" I can be real, bro.
Hey.
I didn't tell you good. Leave me alone.
Exactly.
Leave me alone. And she said, "As the Lord lives, not one," and David said,
yeah.
"As the Lord lives, not one hair of your son shall fall to the ground." Verse 12, therefore the woman said, "Please let your maidservant speak another word to the Lord my king." I'd have been like, okay.
I'd have been like, this your last word now.
Something's up.
Right.
Something's up. But I can see David, being a stoic man. We got a lot going on in family, trying to offer some grace.
Yeah.
Go on.
Go on.
And David said, so on. Say on. So the woman said, why then have you schemed such a thing against the people of God? For the king speaks this thing as one who is guilty, in that the king does not bring his banished one home again. For we will surely die and become like the water spilt on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again. Mercy. Yet God does not take away a life, but he devises means so that his banished ones are not expelled from him. Now, therefore, I have come to speak of this thing to my lord the king, because people who have made me afraid. And your maidservant said, I will now speak to the king. It may be that the king will perform the request of his maidservant, for the king will hear and deliver his maidservant from the hand of the man who would destroy me and my son together from the inheritance of God. Your maidservant said, the word of my lord the king will now be comforting for as an angel of God. So is my lord the king in discerning good and evil, and may the Lord your God be with you. That was a mouthful.
Yeah, but David see right through it though.
Of course. Because he said something's up. Like, what you coming up with now, this can't be just your doing.
This can't be, like, why you care so much, like, you know what I mean? And why you so bold to come and request.
So empowered.
Right, to make this request of me.
And trying to call me out.
Right. After I was trying to give you grace and mercy, you like, hold on, so if you know what justice is, why you ain't carrying out justice and you making the whole country look bad? We could be like spilled water.
That's an analogy though.
Why you say that?
Because you ever spilled water, bro?
Yeah, that's done.
You can't get it back.
Yeah.
That's a real analogy, but like it's done.
It's done.
It's done. You gotta either fill up a new cup or like you ain't
that
getting
one is over, bro. You cannot get that
you
back.
ain't getting that water there back in the cup, bro.
No.
Like I was like, dang, it's like they was spitting back in the days.
Yeah, they was very metaphoric back then.
So the king answered the woman in verse 18, please do not hide from me anything that I ask of you. And the woman said, please let my lord speak. So the king said, is the hand of Joab with you in all of this?
Yes, bro. Like, this sounds like Joab's doing right now.
He knows he from a family of tricksters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's family. Yeah, there's family, bro. I just remember that they cut from the same type of cloth, bro. Like,
bone of my bone.
Flesh of my flesh, bro. Like, for real.
They family. So David said, okay. And the woman answered, as you live, my lord the king, no one can turn to the right hand or to the left hand from anything that my lord the king has spoken. For your servant Joab commanded me, and he put all these words in my mouth.
Nah, she's snitching, bro. Yeah, she snitched, bro.
She said, just in case you got some smoke.
For sure.
It ain't me, buddy.
It ain't me.
To bring about this change of your affairs of your servant Joab has done this thing. But my Lord is wise, according to the wisdom of the angel of God, to know everything that is the truth, that everything that is on earth. And the king said to Joab, all right, I have granted this thing. Go therefore, bring back the young man Absalom. Can't even call him his son yet. Then Joab fell on the ground on his face and bowed himself and thanked the king. And Joab said, today your servant knows that I have found favor in your sight, my lord, O king, in that the king has fulfilled the request of his servant. So Joab arose and went to Geshur and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. And the king said, let him return to his own house, but do not let him see my face. So Absalom returned to his own house and did not see the king's face.
So I like how Absalom handled this because, we all family, that's his cousin. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But Absalom much older than Joab is much older than Absalom. You know what I'm saying? But they still family. I don't know if...
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. Anyway, they still family. I don't know if that means anything. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that means that much. But Joab is like, bro, you ain't like this for real, bro. We know you miss your son. You know what I'm saying? Like, you trying to prove a point, or you trying to make it so essentially this is what I gathered from it. You didn't discipline Amnon, right? And that led to Absalom going off the grid, right? And so now you feel like you gotta, just a makeup call now. I have to super discipline.
I gotta do something.
I really gotta do something. So I banishing him. You know what I'm saying? But no, bro, in the same way that you understand the forgiveness of God, and the same way you understand how in different circumstances have different results. Like when the widow was just talking with her son's supposed to die by law because of what he did, right? But you understand that if your son die, this lady will, her name will be blotted out from history because she would have no heir. You know what I'm saying? That was like the last of her heirs, and enough. Her husband wouldn't have no one to fulfill their line. And in the same way, you understand that is something that is bigger than just punishing the son. You know, this impacts everybody else. And the lady turned around and said that to David, bro, it's bigger than punishing your son. This impacts everybody else, bro. This attention between the royal family. And so now this is gonna spill over to the city, and we're gonna become like spilled water because we ain't moving as a unit. You understand? It's too much going on. You feel me?
Man, not to steal the show, but it's still funny how everything plays out.
Why you say that?
It depends if we get the next chapter. We'll see.
You know, we getting there. We getting there.
Because the spilled water still happening.
Yeah, no, the water does spill, you know. But the thing about it is how you approaching the situation. So now, because the sword will never depart from David's house, right? That's what God say, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what Nathan the prophet prophesied. The sword will never depart from your house. But that didn't stop Amnon from doing what he did to his sister, right? But at the end of the day, that didn't absolve David of him being so nonchalant. Him not wondering why you want your sister to come of all people, or why you didn't discipline him. You feel me? Like, these things are gonna happen, but that don't mean you have to be complicit in it, you know? And so that's what they saying, bro. Like, you know what's gonna happen, bro. God tell you what's gonna happen, but that don't mean you need to be letting your son run wild in a non-Israelite nation with him having the thoughts of being heir to the throne. Like, that's much worse than him being in Israel. Let's be reasonable about this now. He going back to his mommy side of the family. Ain't no telling what they talking about over there.
They conspiring,
bro. So I mean, yeah, the water's still gonna spill, but you don't have to be an accomplice, bro. You don't make it easy for the water to spill.
Facts. So now in all of Israel, there was no one who was praised as much as Absalom for his good looks. From the sole of his foot to the crown of his head, there was no blemish in him. And when he cut the hair of his head at the end of every year, because it was too heavy for him when he cut it, he weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels according to the king's standard.
You want to take a guess at how much pounds is a shekel?
Flatter me.
All right, so 200 shekels would be equivalent to 5 pounds, right? And so to you all out there who may think that's like nothing, right? Imagine you put a 5-pound potato bag as a ponytail, and imagine you trying to move with that all day. Yeah, I could see that being a lot.
I could see that. Hair just annoying at a point in time, regardless.
Yeah.
So he wasn't. It was, I guess, okay, 5 pounds.
And that's in a year, though.
That's a lot of hair to grow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of hair to grow in a year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like,
he had an overactive something going on.
Because some people can't get past the worm stage in a year, bro.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like a year. I don't understand how that's possible, but I mean, some people hair do grow fast.
Yeah.
Though. But imagine that. Like, is this dude we went to school with, bro? His hair grow fast, bro. But nothing close to that. You understand what I'm saying?
All right. So to Absalom, there were born 3 sons and 1 daughter whose name was Tamar. She was a woman of beautiful appearance. So it's interesting. Going back, like the Bible has defined, like, has any male been defined? I guess Joseph.
Yeah,
as
Joseph.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Joseph was up there.
Beautiful in form and appearance. They said that Joseph was that, and his mother was described as that. Yeah. But then Absalom, they describe him as handsome just now too, though.
No, I mean
they going in on Absalom.
Yeah, no blemish at all.
Yeah, from the crown of his head to the sole of his feet.
Exactly, long flowing hair.
Yeah.
You think it's weird that he named his daughter Tamar? Or is it like supposed to be flattering?
I think that's probably what it is, because obviously he cared a lot about his sister, you know. But I feel like maybe this might be too. You remember how with Ruth, I can't remember how it worked, but like because her sons were dead because Naomi's sons were dead, when Ruth had a child, she gave it to Naomi so that her line could be prolonged or continued. I think maybe if you name your child after the person, you know what I'm saying, like that would, I don't know, bro, because you know the first Tamar, like not the first, but Absalom's sister, you know, she would never marry, you know, she would never have children. So I think this might be a homage type of situation so that she could be with her honor in some type of way.
Innocent, but there will be another Tamar who can be innocent.
Right.
Probably, potentially.
Yeah.
And Absalom dwelt 2 full years in Jerusalem, but he did not see the king's face. Therefore Absalom sent for Joab. He sent to send him to the king, but he would not come to him. And when he sent again the second time, he would not come. So he said to his servants, see, Joab's field is near mine, and he has barley there. Go and set it on fire.
This man is a rebel, bro.
I'd have been so mad.
I would have been so mad, and it's like,
because I gone out my way to get you in Jerusalem.
Yes.
For you to come do this?
Yes.
Cheapest to leave you over there.
And you know you're beefing with me. You know you mad at my father, and you know the reason I'm not seeing you is because of my father. Or of your father.
Uncle, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So his servant set it on fire, and Joab arose and came to Absalom's house and said to him, Why have you at your servant set my field on fire? And Absalom answered Joab, Look, I sent to you saying, Come here, so that I may send you, so that I may send you to the king to say, Why have I come from Geshur? It would be better for me to be there still. I can imagine Joab saying his head right now. I shoot.
I should have leave you in Joshua. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, therefore, let me see the king's face. But if there's iniquity in me, let him execute me. So Joab went to the king and told him, and when he had called for Absalom, he came to the king and bowed himself on his face to the ground before the king, and the king kissed Absalom.
Because, David was torturing himself to prove a point. But now you can see Absalom, just a grown man. I don't know how old he was when he first killed his brother. Maybe he might have been a grown man too, because now this man have children and all that, right? But you can see this man, he ain't happy. Like, he's disgruntled. And if you look at the events, his sister, there was no justice for his sister. He had to take matters into his own hands. Then he had to be on the run. Then he was quote unquote banished, right? Now you bringing me back, and I can't even see you. You giving me the silent treatment. I'm the prince. You know what I'm saying? I'm your second oldest son at this point, and you won't even talk to me. What you bringing me back for, bro? You know what I'm saying? And so, like, he angry to the point where he ain't being cordial. I making a statement. I setting Joab's field on fire.
You wicked, bro.
Yes, that's what I saying. Like, I don't.
Wicked.
He ain't, like, he's a brat at this point. And then I judging him, bro, because they already tell me he's a pretty boy. You understand what I'm saying? And he's a prince. So I really think he's a brat. You know what I'm saying? Like, them said who like get their own way. You feel me? And you royalty too. I can't see you not being spoiled. Like,
we see David ain't really a disciplinarian. So I can imagine they're all spoiled.
He ain't the biggest disciplinarian. And then at the same time, we don't even see where Joab get upset about his field for real. Like, he asks him why. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't see Joab say, bro, you didn't talk to your son, bro. I mean, but then your son already in trouble. Like, what else could happen for real? Like,
yeah, and then it's too, like, it's one of the things. Remember the story of Mephibosheth, right? Whereas the servants of King Saul, former servants, was caring for this Mephibosheth's field. Mephibosheth was eating from David's table. I mean, I assume Joab eating from David's table too. So it's like, yeah, I got fields, but
yeah. That might not be.
I ain't eating from them fields for real. I might be selling some
and then that's
barley or something.
Yeah, that's for sale. Like that.
Yeah, so still annoying.
Yeah, you owe me money if anything.
Exactly.
That's what I saying.
All right, so we trying to get into chapter 15.
It's a good question.
I feel like
we could do something.
Yeah, so let's go. And so after this happened, it came that Absalom provided himself with chariots and horses and 50 men to run before him. Now Absalom would rise early and stand beside the way to the gate. So it was whenever anyone who had a lawsuit came to the king for a decision, Absalom would call to him and say, "What city are you from?" And he would say, "Your servant is from such and such a tribe of Israel." And Absalom would say to him, "Look, your case is good and right, but there is no deputy of the king to hear you." Moreover, Absalom would say, Oh, that I were made a judge in the land, and everyone who has any suit or case would come to me, then I would give him justice. So it was whenever anyone came near to bow down to him, that he would put out his hand and take him and kiss him. That's cocky.
Yeah, Absalom have an agenda. So now, so now he just saying, all right, my father didn't want to see me. All right, let me do what I gotta do to schedule a meeting. I schedule a meeting. I am my father, good graces, right? My father kissed me, right? You would think that he would be okay, like, you know what I'm saying? That's cool. But now he really usurped the throne mode. He's sitting out there and he listening to everybody case, right? And he giving them good advice too. He flattering them, and then it's a good looking person, so like you feel better around him. And then he's the king, and he giving you compliments, and he telling you what you want to hear. So now he allowing you to grow fond of him, and then he putting that bug in your ear. If only I was the judge, or if only I was a judge, I would have everybody straight. The reason y'all in this problem is because ain't nobody really judging y'all properly.
And then think about like the spectacle of it. Like the Bible made sure to mention, he had chariots and horses and 50 men to run before him. Just picture these as outriders. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't just, oh, Absalom's doing this. He's making a spectacle of it. He's trying to show power, might. He's essentially being a fancy politician right now.
Yeah.
I trying to promise y'all big things, sell y'all some dreams so I can win people over. Like, it's all about winning the hearts of the people, essentially, we're trying to be charismatic.
Yeah, that's all it is. And it's just so funny to see it, bro. Like, this was happening from back in the Bible.
Nothing new under the sun.
For real.
Nothing new under the sun. Like, man, the same old tricks, just in a different dress at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So now it came to pass, after 40 years, that Absalom said to the king, and we was talking about this before pod, just to bring it up on the pod. So, timeline-wise, the 40 years don't make sense.
Yeah, mathematically, it wouldn't work because Amnon committed his act. 2 years later, Absalom kept it for 2 years, right? We don't know how long he was in Jashur, right? But we know he returned to Jerusalem and he had been there for 2 years. So you're telling me that 40 years after that, which is 42 years, the story progresses? Okay, if it was to happen, how do we reconcile the fact that David only reigned for 40 years? You know what I'm saying? So it couldn't have been 40 years. So either this is an error in translation, or they're saying 40 years from a specific point, which is lost in context. Like, you remember how you were saying, if my sisters, we call her mom, right? People down the line, or people when you transliterate the mom, people might not realize that you're saying my mom. You know what I'm saying? Or you might think Eve, everyone's mom. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh boy,
right? But yeah. So that's what I resolve it to. Like, it could be 40 years from a specific point that is not clear to us.
Yeah,
being so far removed, or this is just a
And some other versions say 4 years, which would be more palatable and more logical. So both could be true. It could be 4 years that he was in Jerusalem, and it could be 40 years that some event happens every 40 years, and now this thing is happening that he needs to go to Hebron.
Right.
We don't have the answers, but we just
pointing it out. You know what I'm saying? Because we ain't trying to cover nothing up, right? We ain't trying to cover nothing up, so y'all could think about it and look into it. You know, do your thing. This ain't that deep to me.
Personal studies of your own,
right?
I said the whole disclaimer. All right.
Verse 8.
Yep. And the king said to him, "Go in peace." So he arose and went to Hebron. Then Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, as soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then you shall say, Absalom reigns in Hebron. And with Absalom went 200 men invited from Jerusalem, and they went along innocently and did not know anything. Then Absalom sent for... Say that word, bro.
Ahithophel.
Ahithophel, yep. That was gonna get me. And the funny thing about it is, like, when you hear it, even when you're listening to the Bible, you're like, all right, cool. You can say that. You get to it, you're like, oh, that's Ahithophel.
Right.
The Gilonite, David's counselor from his city, from Gilor, while he offered sacrifices, and the conspiracy grew strong, for the people of Absalom continually increased in number. Now hold on, even before we get to there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just think about Absalom's grand plan, man. So remember, he waited like 2 years before he killed Amnon, right? So we see Absalom is a snake.
Mm.
He sits in the shadows and just wait to hunt his prey. Like, he ain't got to do nothing fast, but slow, steady, and methodical. So think about it. He waited 2 years to kill Amnon. He was in the other city for about, 3 years?
I can't remember how long he was in. You mean Jeshurun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember if they mentioned that, how long he was there.
For some reason, 3 years in my mind, but I can't really confirm that right now, right? So let's just say, so now then he's thinking about this plan. He finally gets back to Jerusalem, because I think he probably knows David. Like, I'm going to come back at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Comes back. Now, he has been in Jerusalem what appears to be 4 years at this point now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking of a plan like, how am I going to overthrow my own father? Like, let's think that in mind. Like, he's trying to overthrow his own father, which, I mean, David might tell him, bro, you ain't going to be king. But still, like, you trying to usurp the throne from your father, and you just thinking of a plan of how I'm going to do this. And now you have innocent people. Like, even the Bible point out, some people, you're just getting webbed into this trap. You don't even know what's really happening. But these are like some higher ups in David's cabinet. These regular townsfolks. But you see, he sent in spies. He have all this 200 men, all the pomp, the gallantry, trying to promote himself like, yo, I'm going to be the next king. And he come with this plan and say, yo, when y'all hear this trumpet, shout, Absalom is king. Well, this translation said Absalom reigns in Hebron. So, like, man, that's
he had an elaborate
deceitful
scheme. Yeah, like, he had a very elaborate scheme. David thinking,
I was patient.
Yeah. David thinking, my son getting it right with God.
Mercy.
Oh, little did he know, but I got something for you, and we ain't even talk with this off part, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like how when you read comic books and stuff, they have like fan theories and stuff like that. But this one of them, food for thought, as well. So in 2 Samuel 23, verse 34, a man named Ahithophel is mentioned, right? And he is said to be the father of Eliam, right? You know who was, Bathsheba was the daughter of a man named Eliam. So now it's like, I believe these people are mentioned in this book
for a reason.
Because this is very relevant to everything. You understand what I'm saying? And so let's say in a world where these are the same Ahithophel and Eliam, because you don't really, bro, we ain't here with these people too much. This Eliam character, we don't even really know about him. They mentioned later on in this book that there was a man named Eliam who was one of David's warriors, right? I believe that's the same person, and I believe that's Ahithophel's son, who is also Bathsheba's father, right? So that would make Ahithophel, in this theory, Bathsheba's grandfather, right? So now let's consider it. Everything was good with David camp, All of a sudden, David's son come back, and this wise counselor joined forces with Absalom. Why? You understand? Like, obviously, there's a myriad of reasons, but the Bible don't say yay or nay. But consider this. If you know what happened to your granddaughter, which was unjust, right? This man come and turn her life upside down. She was minding her own business. You would have a motive for wanting to betray him. And so, like, to me, that actually makes sense as to why he joined forces with Absalom. And he was a very powerful person to join forces with Absalom because this was one of David's most trusted counselors.
And then you lead credence to Absalom's claim.
Right. And then you have influence with other powerful members and you strengthen Absalom's rebellion.
Claim to the throne.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep.
That is very interesting.
And we can unpack that a little more. I know how deep we can get in this chapter, but the more we talk about Ahithophel, the more like the pieces do line up for that theory. Yeah.
So now in verse 13, now the messenger came to David saying, the hearts of the men of Israel are with Absalom. So David said to all his servants who were with him in Jerusalem, arise, let us flee, or we shall not escape from Absalom. Make haste to depart, lest he overtake us suddenly and bring disaster upon us and strike the city with the edge of the sword. What struck me when I was reading that like the first time is think about who's saying this.
His peeps.
Nobody, David.
Oh, David.
Man who was killed tens of thousands, at this point hundreds of thousands. You know what I'm saying?
And see, that's my whole thing. I don't see the point in David moving. I feel like David have the advantage. Bro. Okay, you're king over here, bro. And I'm an experienced fighter. My people, I got people, bro. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you ain't convinced the whole nation, right? But I do believe that David is being humble because he know that this is part of God's punishment. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I believe that David is acquiescing to God. Like if you say that this is gonna happen, I could fight against it, but I can't change what your judgment already is set. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like this is David just being humble, and it go this. So we seeing old David again. We seeing humble David. I will not touch God's anointed David, because David could have fight Saul. David had Saul in the wilderness by himself in a cave, and David had Saul while he was sleeping. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he chose not to, and he chose to continue to run away. So I feel like this is an example of David being back to how he used to be when he was considered a man after God's own heart.
Just rolling with it.
Yeah.
And to me, I part of it too was like, okay, I think he did it to try to stop more of a bigger rebellion. Because the mere fact that, Absalom already win the hearts of the people, that means you have lost popular opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
Essentially, you've lost the election, even though this is a kingdom, there is no election. So if I stay and put up resistance at this point, the whole country is going to turn against me because they already turned against me. Without saying it, if you already have the people's hearts, they ain't on my side anymore.
Yeah.
You don't need to spread lies, or in this case, you might spread truths and the people find out. I can't fight that.
And then at the same time, bro, it's probably public knowledge right now of the blood that I've shed. I mean, I'm talking about Uriah.
Yep.
You understand? So like, I'm pretty sure. And that's just how we are as people, especially subjects, bro. Like, we gonna hold you accountable, bro. Like, even if we don't say or do anything, in our hearts, we gonna have to stand towards you. There's supposed to be a Christian man, but he end up doing this and he killing people, this and that. And the third, bro. It takes far less for people to turn on King. So David know what he is up against to the fullest. Like,
and then think about it too. You got someone already saying, "Oh yeah, I ain't just. Oh, if I was made judge, I would have make sure y'all get y'all justice y'all need." And so he said a good story. And it's elections. And you got to realize elections aren't when people might hate when I say this, but elections logically aren't when on any core values. They're just based off emotions.
Facts.
Like, it's so funny. Like, people who are for certain political parties, if they actually go back and look at some of the core values, some of these parties as today, they'll be like, I don't even know why I'm affiliated with this party. But it's just emotion.
Yeah.
But that's a story.
But I mean, people can push back on that, but people when people say, like, if someone want to say you a good liar, they'd say, you can be a politician.
You can be a politician.
Right? Like, so I think people generally know that that's true.
Yeah, man. Like, anyway, I got a whole tangent with that, but let's keep it going. In verse 15, right? Where am I?
Yeah.
Verse 15, and the king's servant said to the king, we are your servants, ready to do whatever my lord the king commands. Then the king went out with his household after him, but the king left 10 women concubines to keep the house. And the king went out with all the people after him and stopped at the outskirts. Then all his servants passed before him, and the Serathites and the Pileathites and the Gittites, 600 men who had followed him from Gath, passed before the king. The king said to Ittai the Gittite, "Why are you also going with us? Return and remain with the king. For you are a foreigner and also an exile from your own place. In fact, you came only yesterday."
This is only your first day out here, bro.
I just like little stories like this, right?
Yeah, true.
Because you can see him like, but what are you doing?
Right.
This is your chance to be free.
Right.
Or just like, what you doing, bro? You just get like, I can understand everyone else being loyal to me, but you, I almost don't even trust you coming with me because you ain't even been here that long.
Right. That's funny, bro. You just get here, bro. Like, you don't even know what you up against for real, bro. Just go home.
Just
go
go
back
home.
to Philistia.
Like, yeah, no, just seeing it. No. Go back. Oh, my. Should I make you a wander up and down with us today? Since I go, I know not well. Return and take your brethren back. Mercy and truth be with you. But then I answered the king and said, as the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, surely in whatever my place the Lord the king shall be, whatever the place the Lord the king shall be, whether in death or life, even there your servant shall be. Now that's some
Dedication.
undying loyalty.
Yeah, so, that just go to show that he actually fear God, So you from Gath, that's where Goliath is from. He didn't care about God. Goliath was blaspheming God, But this guy is saying, surely as God lives, so that he believe in God. You understand what I'm saying? And so that make me to believe that, there was the Israelites and the way they live and the way they worship left an impression on him. So he had been converted, to worshiping the Most High God. And then he's also a brave warrior who is loyal, like you said. 22.
So David said to Ittai, "Go and cross over." Then Ittai the Gittite and all his men and all the little ones who were with him crossed over. And all the country wept with a loud voice, and all the people crossed over. The king himself crossed over the brook of Kidron, and all the people crossed over toward the way to the wilderness. There was also Zadok, and all the Levites with him, bearing the ark of the covenant of God. And they set down the ark, and Abiathar went up until all the people had finished crossing over from the city. The king said to Zadok, "Carry the ark of God back into the city. If I find favor in the eyes of the Lord, he will bring me back and show me both it and his dwelling place. But if he says, 'Thus I have no delight in you, here I am,' let him do to me as seems good to him." The king also said to Zadok the priest, "Are you not a seer? Return to the city in peace. And you and your sons, Ahimaaz, your son, and Jonathan, the son of Abiathar. See, I will wait in the plains of the wilderness until word comes from you to inform me." Therefore Zadok and Abiathar carried the ark back to Jerusalem, and they remained there. So David went up by the ascent of the Mount of Olives and wept as he went up. And he had his head covered and went barefoot. And all the people who were with him covered their heads and went up, weeping as they went up. Then someone said, saying, "Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom." And David said, "O Lord, I pray, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness."
So, right. So before we even get back to Ahithophel, with my little theory, anyway, scholars believe it too, though.
So you're trying to say you're a scholar now?
Yeah, But I was just trying to say I ain't trying to take credit for that theory because that didn't originate in my brain. But you see, David, they going out, they on the run. They have non-Israelites with them. That's fine. But then they also have Levites, and what they doing? They carrying the Ark of the Covenant. You understand? So David looking at this like, all right, cool. Some boy like Eli them. his son, I think his son's name was what? Hophni and Phinehas, right?
Yep.
They would have looked at that and get excited. Yeah, we got God with me, XYZ. David turned around and said, no. Y'all go carry this ark back. You know what I'm saying? Because we ain't doing this, worshiping this ark like this an idol, like this a good luck charm
I was
thing.
going to say the same thing. Yeah, keep going.
Right, so we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that because David realized that this is God's promise. Like David lived for probably about 5 years now since 5 or more years since his act with Bathsheba, and it was promised to him that he's gonna go through this type of persecution. To be completely honest, and he is doubling down on God once again. I ain't doing no I ain't doing no superstitious acts. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be gimmicky or none of that. If God is going to deliver me, I am going to wait right here for him to deliver me. I need this Ark of the Covenant. Nothing extra besides what God plans to happen to me.
I mean, because there's two things I think about it too, right? Like one, we see David was actually putting his trust in God. Like God, and not just the symbolism of the ark. And the two things, and the next thing I think about too is like, what did the ark symbolize? The presence of God amongst his people. So David, in my thinking, David's like, I know this city is about to go through some turmoil. No, the ark needs to stay there. The presence of God needs to stay back with the people. I don't need that.
Right.
Because I know the power doesn't come from the ark. The power comes from God. You know what I'm saying? So y'all are the priests, y'all are the Levites, y'all need to stay in this city. You know what I'm saying? Y'all go back, care for the temple, do y'all duties, put the ark back in the presence of the people, make sure it's safe. But that ark needs to stay there. I know I'm trusting God to deliver me. And guess what? I know when you come to Esther, but you almost have this like Esther-like mentality. If I perish, I perish. You know what I'm saying? I already come to peace with that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need to be around here just saying, if I have the ark with me, I'm safe. Or, nothing will happen because they ain't going to mess with the ark. No, David said, you know what, put the ark back over there. The ark going to be good because I have faith God can take care of the ark. And I have faith God's going to sustain me in the wilderness. And if he doesn't, I perish.
It is what it is. If that's how God want me to go, that's how he want me to go. Ain't nothing, even this ark could be right here with me. And if that's how God want me to go,
I still going.
Yeah, I'm still going, bro. So carry the ark back, bro. Like, ain't you a seer? Ain't you a prophet, bro? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on, bro. Like, let's we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that playful game today.
Now it happened. Yeah. So in verse 32, now it happened when David had come to the top of the mountain where he worshipped God. There was Hushai and Archite. It's too much heights, man. Coming to meet him.
Some heavy names. And the names just can get heavier from 1st and 2nd Kings go forward.
I know, man. Coming to meet him with his robe torn and dust on his head. David said to him, if you go on with me, you will become a burden to me. But if you return to the city and say to Absalom, I will be your servant, O king, as I was your father's servant previously. So I will now also be your servant. Then you may defeat the counsel of Ahithophel for me. And do not have Zadok and Abiathar the priests, with you there. Therefore it will be that whatever you hear from the king's house, you shall say to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Instead, they have there with them their 2 sons, Ahimaaz, Zadok's son, and Jonathan, Abiathar's son. And by them you shall send me everything you hear. So Hushai, which is so interesting just because of how his name comes in English, David's friend, went into the city, and Absalom came to Jerusalem.
It's like these things couldn't have been timed better for David. So David on the Mount of Olives, that's crazy too. You know what I'm saying? Because we heard about that with Jesus. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And David barefoot, and he is going through it. You know what I mean? Like, he is in mourning, and he see this Ark of the Covenant, and he say, y'all, go back, bro. And you was a prophet, right? So, bro, if you get any word, you know what I'm saying? Like, tell me, you know what I mean? Like, go back. If God talk to you, if anybody say anything, send your sons back or whoever to come and talk to me. And right after, it almost appears that right after they finish that convo, Hushai come. And now Hushai is a saving grace because that's like the missing piece to this whole plan. I just send these men back, but where they can get a word from. I just hope they find a word. But now
Exactly.
I have someone for sure who could give them a word. You go to also counsel Absalom because obviously he want all of my friends around him to counsel him. So you go over there, you go appear to be a traitor as well. And whatever you hear, just spread the message.
Be a double agent.
Just be a double agent, man. I ain't telling you to do nothing funky, bro. Like whatever you hear, just go back and come back and tell that to me, bro. But it's just so funny because like we see David actually really petitioning God here, you know, and we could see God setting the foundation already. Number one, when matters seemed like it couldn't get worse, news get to him that Ahithophel is counseling Absalom.
Yeah.
And all David could do is pray, God, please turn that man words to foolishness. You know, and next chapter we're gonna hear a little more about Ahithophel and how important or how successful his counsel was. This man almost like Balaam, bro. You remember Balak say like, whoever you bless is blessed, whoever you curse is cursed. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of what I get from that. And that's why this was such a blow.
To David.
To David, bro, of all people. This the man, you bro, like you got what it takes to end me, bro. Like, cause you a tactician, like you a wise man, you know? And so David have his back against the wall. And this is a crazy contrast from the last time David back was against the wall. Because David ain't in attack mode. Last time he was in straight attack mode. Attack, and he failed every time. This time, he in submissive mode. Now, we could think of so many different ways that David could have combated this, bro. David could have stood on his 10 toes and say, bro, I am the king. You are my son. And I'll end you if I have to. I'll bring you in this world.
I can take you out.
I can take you out.
I can take you out. Hands down. A classic parent line.
Right.
To all the parents out there who have said that to their kids when they got angry. No, I'm not scarred.
No.
But so it's interesting, like you brought up the Mount Olives and how Jesus kind of went through the same path, right? And it's just really interesting because, you know, we talked about David being a type before, right? And think about it, when Jesus was there. Well, now I'm trying to get this off with David. David's there grieving his own sins and petitioning God. You know what I'm saying? Like, trying to reconcile, like, yo, if this cup can pass from me, let it pass. Like, there's a lot I going through right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, I still got to suffer for this. You know what I'm saying? But think about it, when Jesus was there, he didn't have his sins he was, you know, crying for. I don't want to say crying in a negative way, but you know what I'm saying? Like petitioning God for. He was petitioning for David's sins, our sins. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so interesting. Like Jesus essentially retraced David's steps during a same time of heavy reflection and suffering and just like petitioning the throne of God. Like, yo, there's a lot I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's probably intentional on Jesus' part to retrace that, but just interesting, like how we see dying there like 2,000 years later after this point. You know what I'm saying? That Jesus essentially reenacted what David did. But it just shows the solemnity of it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, just think about it. Like, this is a mighty king who has been humbled. You know what I'm saying? In a very weird way. Because who would think it would be David's own family who would be the one to humble him? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, you brought up the Balaam and Balak analogy. And it's kind of fitting. Like, we couldn't get David to bring himself down from the outside, but it's something that he did.
Yep.
And his own family did that can tear down his own kingdom.
That's exactly what it is.
Man.
The outsiders could not destroy David, but David could destroy David.
And boy, did he.
Yes, and he did. And he's definitely paying the price, paying the pretty penny.
There was some serious ramifications.
Serious ramifications.
For his actions.
David's kingdom has been turned completely upside down. Not only is David hiding from his power-hungry son Absalom, but also Ahithophel, one of David's trusted advisors, and Hushai, a friend of David, are both on Absalom's side. Both of these men devised a plan to conquer David. But let's just say one of them are a double agent. But we'll find out who Absalom listens to on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by Ayana Albertson-Gay as well as Nakhaz Gay. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.